have a Yamaha custom horn, and brings me to another thing. Rule number 4, never ever sell your horn and quit. Sell your horn and trade up, but never sell your horn and quit. I did that once. About a week later, I regretted it. And I knew when I took the check and spent it for something I could play, which was a really fine stereo, and problems at home and no one was really supporting me in playing. I said, the heck with it. And I sold my mint condition, it's pretty mint, classic Elkhart Connie.
Oh.
And actually, I gave it away at the price. I thought they devalued it price, and I originally bought it for something like $900, and I sold it for $750, and I could have gotten $500 for it. And the lady who did that for me at that store in Rochester, she was a horn player too, and she should have told me. She didn't. She just saw a big commission.
Mm-hmm.
But never sell your horn if you're going to quit. Sell your horn if you're trading up. I sold 2 other horns to trade up for this custom horn. That was good, after I got back into playing. So being a Yamaha, on the back side on your valves, there is a center screw that goes right down the stem on your valve. And that's just, I don't have to go on with lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, do I? Pop the screw out. Now this is where this comes in. This dowel, and I have enough of these. Take 1 or 2, pass them around, because I'm going to come down here. Now, on this other side, your valve cap, you want to take this out, and there is a bearing that sits in here, and it's a pressure fit. And you want to pop this cap off. But to do so, it's got to come the other way. You don't pry it off, it actually has to be popped out. And if you've had the screw on there, your rotor is going to be clamped on this. So I have a light. You can use a block of wood, something light, and you're holding this lightly. Usually I'm sitting down with this on my lap so that I'm holding it up off the ground. I want just a little space underneath, and I'm just going to tap this. And this goes right through the center. I can't hold it and do this at the same time. There. Now what happened is I just popped, as soon as I got that bearing off, which is this, the rotor came right through and came off of this. And then the rotor comes straight out. That's what's inside your valve. And then this is the rest of your valve connection on there. This is your rotor. Usually it's coming out looking really pretty grody. Mine are fairly clean. You should clean your rotors, your valves, I'd say twice a year. You can do it easy enough. Take your rotor out, take your bearing out, do this over something soft, because you absolutely do not want to nick or even scratch these. The difference between the inside diameter of your valve casing and the outside diameter of your rotor, especially on Yamahas, is so minute. I mean, I would put this in here, you cannot shake it. It has to go in just right, and it will just lock there. If you take your hair and lengthwise your hair, split it into 4 equal lengths. In other words, you're going to cut it in half and cut it in half again. And then cut it in half once more, take 1/4 the width of your hair, then cut that in half. That's the tolerance between the rotor and the inside of your casing. If you put a hair in there with your rotor, you would jam it. You wouldn't even be able to get the rotor in there. That's how close it is. And so nicking it, scratching it, anything like that, then you're going to have to take it to a shop that knows how to take that out. But okay, I pop this out, I pop this out, I pop my rotor cap out, and now I take some household dish detergent, Palmolive, Ivory, something like that, wash them. Use toothbrushes, nice brush, good and soft. I'll wash it. Mainly I'm getting the old oil and anything else that's off there. I want to get down to the bare metal. Take a jar, a glass, something like that. White vinegar. Not some apple cider vinegar, not some fancy European plum or olive vinegar. You want just white vinegar distilled, because what that is 4% acetic acid. Pour in, about an inch or so in your glass, enough to cover, and I usually have my glasses, since I got 4 valves, I would have 4 glasses. I would dip this in the vinegar, I would brush it, and that kind of sets up the acid to start working on whatever's on your rotor oil. And then your bearing and your cap, put it in there, leave it overnight. It's not going to do anything to the metal, but it's going to take everything else off. You usually have calcium deposits or lime deposits or just some old sticky whatever in there. You didn't brush before one of your gigs and you blew your dinner in there and it got jammed in there and it's on the inside of one of the curves on this. This will take it all off. Next morning, carefully take it out, dump the vinegar, rinse this off, then wash it again with dish detergent. Now let it dry, blow it off, let it dry. Now you're back down to the basic rotor once more. Here's where we come in. It's going to smell a bit. Basically, all you need is valve oil. I use Alcas fast oil because when I was in marching band, you try playing any valve instrument below freezing. You know what happens to your valves after you blow in it a few times. All the moisture from your breath just freezes up your valves. So then you're playing a natural horn because nothing's moving. And you're in whatever key the last valve froze down in. Alcas doesn't freeze, it doesn't separate, and it will take you below freezing. I like it for that reason. Also, it's a good, solid, basic valve oil. I just got a new one, and the last one I had lasted me like about 6 years, 7 years for the amount of oil that I used in this size. They run, I think, for about $6.50. In some instruments, there are different oils for different parts of your valve. You have valve oil. You have spindle oil that goes on these 2 parts. You might have some slide oil. I have, Yamaha still has the needled oilers. And this is a very fine oil, and this is a spindle oil. There are several makers of oils. Allison, Hetman, any top brand, Yamaha, Holton, Kahn, oils, lubricants, you can trust them. Don't buy, as much as I love Summer Haze, don't buy their brand. You know, they're getting it made somewhere else. Most of it's being made in China, so on. Stick with the name brand. They're a name brand for a reason. Your horn is, in some cases, your life. It's your livelihood. Take care of it. Go the distance. Get the best. Don't settle for cheap. You aren't going to save anything. On this, when putting it back in, I will oil just the bearing points and the stem. And then I will carefully, and on this other part here, this is where I put my Alcas oil. I'll put that around. And I'll just make sure that I've got it oiled, it's wet. And since it's completely dry, I will also oil the inside because I want this whole thing to be coated with oil. That just keeps any oxidation down once it's coated. My last teacher, Jack Herrick, he had on hand, he always had in the studio, at least a quart of number 2 kerosene. Number 2 kerosene is the practically odorless and very clear kerosene. It's the good kerosene. It's not the stuff you're going to go out and use on your torches in the backyard. But it's very good kerosene, and what that is just a lighter oil lubricant. But kerosene leaves kind of film over it that's not harmful, but it seals it off so oxygen can't get to it. So I've coated my bottom spindle with my spindle oil. I've coated it with my Alcas oil, and I put it in here, and you'll see this spins really nice. That's because it's well lubricated. You can see the rotary on that. I can spin that and it'll just keep spinning around. Now comes the point, how do I put this back on? On each of your bearings, there is a little notch.